What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of The Sauce. So in this episode today, we're going to be doing a month recap of February, but this one, I'm not doing just a recap. I'm calling it the good, the bad, and the ugly, with some fun stuff thrown in there. So without further ado, let's get saucing. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with the division leaders after 2 months of hockey. So after the month of February, your division leaders are as follows. The Toronto Maple Leafs have 36 points and they lead the North Division. The Vegas Golden Knights have 27 points and they lead the West Division. The Tampa Bay Lightning have 31 points and they lead the Central Division. And in the Eastern Division, you have the Washington Capitals with 28 points. Okay, so starting off with the North Division, as I normally do with these videos. So before I get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, I do want to have some little tidbits in there, some fun information. So in the North Division, it's time to finally give credit to the Edmonton Oilers for the good that they've done. So the Winnipeg Jets have 29 points on the season and they are in second place. And the Edmonton Oilers have 28 points on the season and they are currently in third place in the North Division. Now, I won't necessarily be going through the top 4, top 3 in every division, but it's important that I recognize these two teams because if you recall my North Division video, I didn't have them even making the playoffs. But Winnipeg's offense is humming along as they usually can, but their defense has not been as big of a weak spot as I thought it would be. And Connor Hellebuyck, one of the better goaltenders in the league, playing fantastic in net for them, and just it's great to see. So kudos to the Winnipeg Jets holding down that second spot. Now in the third spot, the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, that offensive juggernaut of a team is stealing games and they're winning games whole-handedly. So that's no surprise. The defense is chipping in. They're doing fantastic as well. And their goaltending is actually pretty good. Now, they did just get shut out back-to-back by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the past 2 games. However, doesn't matter. They're still in third place. Their goaltending is still playing better than I even thought they would. And a little sneaky move, they just picked up Alex Stalock off of waivers from the Minnesota Wild. So that could be a sneaky goaltending tandem in net that they could have if he plays as good as he did for Minnesota last season. Okay, so let's get into the title of this video, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good, bad, ugly. Yeah, that's how it goes. So the good for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're leading the division, as I mentioned before, with key injuries. Guys like Freddie Anderson, their starting goaltender. Joe Thornton, who's a proven veteran centerman who is heading the top line for them. And guys like Austin Matthews, who's a perennial 40-goal scorer who's been out of the lineup. And they, as I just mentioned, shut out the Edmonton Oilers in back-to-back games. So kudos to them. They are definitely the good for this one. Okay, so let's get into the bad for the North Division. The Montreal Canadiens recently fired their head coach, Claude Julien. Now, they were one of the most dangerous teams in the league not too long ago, and I mean, they're still in the top 4 spot, so they're still doing good there, and they did just win their last game under their new head coach, so that's good there. So why are they bad? Because they were on such a decline that if the other teams below them caught fire, Montreal would be on the outside looking in as of right now. So telling you what, the Montreal Canadiens, they're my bad for this one, but I'm hoping they can turn it around with this new head coach and get back in the win column and start taking this division like we know they can. All right, so let's get into the ugly for this one for the North Division. The Calgary Flames have lost 6 of their last 8 games going into the month of March. And why is that really bad? Other than the fact that they're losing these games, some of those losses are coming at scores of 5-1, 6-1, 7-1. It's just awful. It's awful to watch. And currently their starting goaltender, Jacob Markstrom, is out with injury and could be back in the lineup soon, but their goaltending is looking shaky. They're not scoring enough to help out their goaltending, and it's an overall mess. They're outside looking in, but it's ugly. So for the West Division, I can keep this pretty quick. The fun little tidbit is that the top 4 are still the top 4 as I predicted at the beginning. Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis, and Minnesota, not necessarily in that order, but they're still the top 4. They're still at the top of this game here. And now, so for the good, just kind of moving quickly there. So Minnesota is the good for this one. Minnesota had a 6-game winning streak going into their last game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, sadly, they lost in overtime, snapping that winning streak, but Minnesota was held for COVID, I want to say it was about 2 weeks or so, so they missed a lot of time, and because of that, they were at the bottom of the standings, but we knew once they started playing that they would start going up again. And sure enough, 6 straight wins, and they're right up there battling for that top spot with Vegas. So kudos to Minnesota. They're the good for this one. All right, so the bad for the Western Division. So due to COVID, a lot of teams missed some time in the month of February. But Arizona and St. Louis played a lot of games against each other. So normally most teams will play each other 8 to 9 times this season within the division. St. Louis and Arizona played each other 7 times in the first 2 weeks of February. And Arizona won most of them. They won 4 of those 7 matchups. So that's bad for St. Louis, good for Arizona, but it's also bad because now that was the hockey that you watched for the Western Conference. So there's a lot of bad in this one scenario. But again, COVID is unpredictable, and these COVID protocols the NHL is following as strict as they can. But for the St. Louis Blues to lose 4 games to Arizona, I told you they were stout defensively, but oh boy. It's all right, I guess. St. Louis is still in the top 4. Arizona will catch them, though. All right, and the ugly for the Western Division. The Anaheim Ducks have won 3 games in the entire month of February. Ouch. So we know they were on the steady rebuild phase for the Anaheim Ducks, and as I said it before, that goaltender, John Gibson, deserves so much better. So hopefully, if they can't accelerate this rebuild, Anaheim just gives him a new home, because he's playing lights out for this team night in and night out. And granted, they've had some bad losses, but still, John Gibson is still a solid goaltender. And to have 3 wins in the month of February, ouch. So for the Central Division, my favorite division, it is a battle for first place right now. Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Florida have all been battling for that top spot. As I mentioned in the previous video, Florida took a 2 out of 3 series away from Tampa, and they were at one point the number 1 team in the Central Division. Recently though, Tampa has just come off of back-to-back shutouts against Dallas and shut out Carolina in a previous game and beat them in another previous game. So they're playing phenomenal hockey. And Carolina just beat Florida a couple times not too long ago. So that battle for the number 1 spot, those 3 teams, it's electric, it's fun, it's looking good. However, that is not the good fact for this one. So that is just a little fun tidbit, like I said. So the good for this is the Chicago Blackhawks, who currently stand at the 4th spot in the Central Division. A team that has stated they are on a rebuild and came into the league with Malcolm Subban in net and Chris D'Elia, I think it is. I'm probably saying that wrong. Well, I'm going to look silly now, aren't I? It does not matter. It does not matter, because the Chicago Blackhawks are playing phenomenal hockey. They have 28 points on the season, and they are in 4th place, and they are looking great. They really are. Let's see if they can keep it up. They're currently keeping teams like Columbus, Nashville, and Dallas outside looking in, so kudos to the Blackhawks, and they're doing phenomenal. The bad for the Central Division, Dallas just cannot catch a break. COVID trouble, that was at the start of the season, and it's kind of dissipated since, but now but there were the winter storms, or it's February, it's crazy to think winter storms, but there was just this inclement weather that had to reschedule Dallas's games, and a lot of Texas was being shut down, and flights, and it was just a mess. So the Dallas Stars have only played 17 games. It's the lowest count for the Central Division. They just can't seem to catch that break, and I don't know. I think at one point it's eventually going to start hurting them. As I mentioned before, the Tampa Bay Lightning just had back-to-back shutouts against them. One of those was at one point a 1-0 game up until Tampa scored an empty net. So Tampa's still stout defensively. They still have solid goaltending. They have a great forward group, but I worry that this COVID and weather, just Dallas is not going to be able to catch fire again. And the ugly, the Columbus Blue Jackets. So at the end of the month of February, they had 5 straight losses. And there were rumors that the coach, John Tortorella, was going to get fired. I mean, they had a great trade getting Patrick Laine and Jack Roslovic, who have both been playing phenomenal, by the way. But their goaltending has just not been the best, with Jonas Korpisalo and Elvis Merzlikins. Merzlikins is now out with injury. Korpisalo's got to hold down the fort, and it wasn't good. They recently won their first game in the month of March. However, again, 5-game losing streak, and this is a team that's supposed to contend for the playoffs and pushes Tampa to the brink last season. Right now, they're in 5th place behind the Chicago Blackhawks. This Columbus team needs to pull it together. That's why they're the ugly. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the East Division. So, little fun information there, or I guess lack thereof. So the Washington Capitals are on the top of the division despite some of the early COVID issues that they experienced. Their goaltender Samsonov was out because he tested positive for COVID, and along with him were some of their better players, Alexander Ovechkin and Evgeny Kuznetsov, who are both out for about a week and a half. And despite all that, they're still at the top of the division. Goaltenders like Craig Anderson and Vita Vanacek, I hope I said that right, they stepped in big time while Samsonov was hurt, out with COVID. But now that he's back, it's looking like the Washington Capitals are back to their old selves. So we'll see how well they do, and could be a slow start for Samsonov, but give him some time. He just came back from a long COVID stint. All right, so let's get into the good, bad, and the ugly. So for the good, I'm going to say the Boston Bruins. So the Boston Bruins are not the number 1 team in the East, but it doesn't matter. They have played a lot of amazing hockey in the past month, since we're covering the month of February. I loved their 90s throwback walkout outfits for the outdoor game at Lake Tahoe. So both the Philadelphia Flyers and the Boston Bruins wore their reverse retro jerseys for that outdoor game. But before the game, the Boston Bruins all wore like 90s highlighter color tracksuits, fanny packs, crazy glasses, sideways ball caps. It was just all sorts of fun. But back to the hockey, guys like Charlie McAvoy is playing phenomenal on the blue line. Both their goalies are playing solid, and that core for Boston just continues to prove people wrong that no matter what you do this lineup, Boston is just going to be a strong, mean team. So we'll see if they can keep it up, but they're the good for this one. So for the bad, I'm going to say a specific player in Anthony Deangelo. So in the past month, Anthony Deangelo had an altercation, or I believe it was a fight, with their goaltender, Alexander Georgiev, which led him to being permanently kicked off of the Rangers roster, stripped of his contract, and they said that he would never play for the Rangers again. I don't think he'll ever play NHL hockey again, but I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened. Even when he was drafted, he had some on and off ice character issues. He was originally drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning years ago. Tampa couldn't get him into the lineup. There were some off-ice issues there. They traded him to Arizona, stayed in Arizona for a little bit. Then they eventually traded him to New York, where he had that season where he was basically nominated for the Norris Trophy. They thought he was going to do great things, which was literally last season. And now this season, this happens. And recently, he was basically begging, or at least an article came out with him begging to come back to the NHL, or I'm sorry, the AHL, which is one step down. But New York is saying, look, we wish you the best of luck, but you're not playing in our AHL affiliate or our team. Some of the team's going to have to take a chance on you. So he's the bad for this one. And the ugly. I'm sorry, Buffalo fans, but you are the ugly on this one. Not the Buffalo fans, the Buffalo Sabres. The Buffalo Sabres are currently in last place in the East Division with 15 points. And it's rough. Their captain, Jack Eichel, is a phenomenal player, and he's mentioned that he's not happy in Buffalo. He wants to win, and rightfully so. Anybody that plays in this league should have an opportunity to at least get into the playoffs once. Since he's come into the league, Buffalo has not made the playoffs. I can't remember the last time Buffalo made the playoffs. And they just, even with the additions of Taylor Hall and that lineup that they have, nothing. They just can't string together wins. They have guys like Jeff Skinner, who was a 40-goal scorer a couple seasons ago, making $9 million a year on the fourth line, has 1 assist in the entire year. And he's been a healthy scratch in and out of the lineup. For my non-hockey fans, healthy scratch means he's healthy enough to play, but they're saying, no, you're not playing in this game. So imagine that. You're making $9 million and the coach is like, nah, we're good. That's intense. So for all those reasons, the Buffalo Sabres are indeed the ugly for the East Division. And as I've said before in other videos, it's unfortunate. The Buffalo Sabres just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they have to do, but they have to do something to fix this, or Jack Eichel's going to demand a trade and want out, and it's going to get from ugly to even more ugly for the Buffalo Sabres franchise. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Sauce. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoy making these videos for you all. It's fun. I get to, get this content created and just have a good time and share my love for hockey. And again, as I mentioned in other videos, I hope those of you that are not hockey fans are slowly getting pulled into the sport. My hockey fans out there, I hope I'm doing us justice. You let me know in the comments if I'm not, or if I am, I'd appreciate it. So again, you know the drill. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out our other videos, whether it's The Sauce or A Slice of Life. Thank you again. Stay saucy.